Hello, BookTube. Today I have a book haul for you. I mentioned earlier that I had been hoping I would be able to go to the Friends of the Waco McLennan County Library book sale today. This is Saturday, and I managed to go. The trip was pretty good. So, traditionally, the library book sale has two sales. One in the last week of May or the first weekend of May and first weekend in June at the West Waco Library and Genealogy Center. There's a meeting room that's taken over. Uh, Tables are lined up against the walls and along the interior of the room, and they're stacked with books, pretty much fiction and paperback. And then the first week of November, the first Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in November, the big book sale is put on, which will include nonfiction, collector's items, other items, and a lot more books. And this sale is held at a convention center in Waco. There are two. The Extraco Event Center, which used to host the Friends at the Library book sale in its arts exhibition hall, which was like an H-shaped hall where one hall would be filled with children's books, young adult books, and the collector corner, and I think miscellaneous. The other hall would have the large fiction, science fiction, detective, mystery, romance, nonfiction, hobbies. Yeah. Um, this year, the book sale moved to the Waco Convention Center, which is more downtown, and in the Texas rooms. So, one room had again children's books, young adult, and the collector, and then the other had basically everything else. I mostly went to the other hall that had general fiction, science fiction, romance, nonfiction. That's generally what I'd say it was, in general, it was a more cramped space. The Texas rooms at the Waco Convention Center are considerably smaller than the building at the Extraco Event Center that used to hold the book sale. But I think next year they're going to expand it back to its usual allotment of days. This year it's a truncated schedule too, so maybe spread out might encourage like a less crowding. Anywho, so these are the books I got. Juliette Marillier's Son of the Shadows. I picked up Juliette Marillier earlier this year at Golden's Book Exchange on recommendation of several booktubers. And so I saw this and picked it up. The Many Colored Land by Julian May. Steve Donahue doing his Darkest Depths of Mordor book tour. Had a copy of this and I was interested in it, so I put it in a Libris and managed to find a copy, so I picked it up at the library book sale. Bonds of Vengeance by David B. Coe. I have several other books in this series, and I picked it up. I was going to pick up Lords of Chaos, which surprisingly the only Wheel of Time novel they had was Lords of Chaos, which I think I already have. This is Lynn Flewelling's Traitor's Moon, the third book in the Netrunner series. I have the first two books. So happy to pick that up. The Locus Awards, edited by Charles N. Brown and Jonathan Strahan. This is one of the books I've been wanting for a while. It's an anthology of winners of the Locus Awards, and I want to say came from the Meridian Public Library. So I wonder if the Waco McLean County Library still has this edition. The Slavs in European History and Civilization by Francis Dvornik. This came from the Lena Armstrong Public Library. And, I'm not totally sure. Oh, it was a reference. The Greeks and the Persians from the 6th to the 4th centuries by Herman Bingston. Briefly returning back to science fiction and fantasy, Three of Swords by Fritz Leiber. This is an anthology that includes Swords and Deviltry, Swords Against Death, and Swords in the Mist. This came from the Waco McLean County Library, so it's discard, and if you want to pick this up from the Waco Library, you're out of luck because it's now mine. Oh, I think I might have 2 of those in another edition, but I might not. I need to go check. Medieval Warfare by Triumph and Domination in the Wars of the Middle Ages by Peter Reed. A Distant Mirror, The Calamitous 14th Century by Barbara W. Tuchman. Quite happy to get that. And finally, Byzantium, The Decline and Fall, John Julius Norwich. This again is a discarded Waco McLennan County Library book. So, overall, I am quite happy with the books I picked up. And I think I'm going to hold off on putting the science fiction books on my shelves until maybe the end of the month, when I have like more science fiction and fantasy books to put up. And then go ahead and just do the history like here in a few minutes. So that was my book haul from the Friends of the Library book sale. I should have another book haul towards the end of the month. It might not be as large as some of my previous ones have been, because obviously a good chunk of my book budget went to this, although not as much as I thought it was going to be. I only paid about $18.49 for these, and so it was a pretty good haul for not a whole lot of money. So, thank you, BookTube. Have a good evening, day, morning, whatever time this is you watch it. Bye.